Alrighty guys, so we got the blaster on the stands. So we're getting ready to start putting the motor in. But before we can put the motor in, we had to pull the rod out that holds the swing arm. And it was kind of stuck on there. Got a little rushed in there, but got these all polished out and the rod. So I got that all polished up. It was all boogered up on the threads, fixed the threads up. Got this all fixed up. So we are ready to slap that back on. And we are getting ready to start installing the engine in here. So we are just about ready. So let's jump into it. And we have to still clean up the carburetor, which is right here. Gotta clean some of that junk out because it's been sitting in the elements and been open. Other than that, pretty decent seat cover still. Got all the tires off. Need to get some spacers for the tires, the wheels. Space them out a little bit. Clean the air filter and stuff, and we should be good to go. Let's go. Well guys, the blaster engine is in, mounted to the frame, and we are missing one bolt that I can't find, which is this one. It's a 14 millimeter by 1.5 pitch, and we'll acquire that and put it together, but that's not stopping us from continuing with this whole thing. We can go ahead and put the sprocket on now, which I got it right here. Also, as you can tell, that's my spring, custom made spring, made it to work. Also, we can go ahead and continue mounting everything else, like exhaust, the swing arm, the shock. That should be all good to go. We can start connecting all the wires and the cables and stuff like that. We can probably take off the carb, go through it. So also we'll have to drain the gas, make sure it's clean, no moisture and water. Just clean that out, and just go from there and start making it looking good again. Alrighty guys, we are now going on to the exhaust side. So this is all my hardware, and then a spring that we'll have to make up somehow. But we don't really have to, because this flange was welded onto the FMF pipe, which we got a FMF Gold Series fatty with a Pro Circuit exhaust tip. I'm not sure how that's gonna work, but that's what we got. And this was welded prior, but the weld wasn't the best, so I went ahead and sealed it with some good gasket maker. Hopefully that works. Also, we got this kind of flange that we are going to try to clamp the exhaust leak that's going to happen between the silencer and the expansion chamber. And also, we need to go ahead and find the gasket that goes inside there in the cylinder, which was here somewhere, right here. So we gotta install that, and yep. So we're going to install this piece already. It's already slid in just like that. and then hopefully it seals. Kind of looks like it wasn't sealing, maybe it was installed wrong, because it's a there's a difference in it, so we'll see. Give it a shot and I'll let you know how it goes. All right, I'm gonna go into time lapse. Alrighty guys, so the exhaust is on. This FMF with the Pro Circuit silencer is all on. This bushing, the seal has to be put on the right way because this edge won't really clamp down, so you gotta push it all the way forward on that lip, and once you do that, it'll clamp down and it's pretty solid. Also got my spring on just for the extra support. Got that buttoned up right there. Got it all tightened down. This exhaust good to go, solid. So we got a few more other little things to do and we should be pretty good. The rear end has been pretty much all buttoned up. The shock has been put on to the swing arm attached. The crusty rusty chain is on, but potentially will be replaced when the new one comes in. And starting to spin, and we got compression. Just hear this out. So this thing is nice and full of compression, so we'll be ready to rebuild the carburetor. So we gotta take this stain off right here and go through it because it is crusty and rusty. And we need to clean it up, make sure it's all good to go. Let's go. Alrighty guys, we're going to drain the fuel and we're gonna go up into reserve. And so let's go. The reserve is down. So let's see what it is. Look at that. It was nasty looking. And then we can wash the carburetor in this because there's some fuel. We got probably a gallon of fuel in here. It's gonna take a good minute. So we're just gonna let it sit and let it drain. Alrighty guys, while the fuel is draining in the background, we are going to take this thing apart, this carburetor, and we're gonna take a look and see what's up with it. We are not going to rebuild it. That's the plan. If we carefully remove everything, we can possibly save everything. Only thing we might replace is this gasket, but other than that, everything else is rebuildable. So that's the plan. This carburetor probably hasn't seen fuel in about a little over a year now, so maybe more. And it should look pretty nasty, but just depends. Surprisingly, not too bad. A little bit of crust over there. Looks pretty good, I'd say. Right? Alrighty, so one thing we're gonna do is remove this thing right here. This is where the oil injection used to be, but since we are not running oil injection, we are going to remove it because we don't need it anymore. We are running premix, and That's gonna be way better. We know the engine's getting oil all the time. So this thing is extra. And we're going to put a plug on there, which you can put another piece of tube on there and then put a little bolt inside it real tight. And it should be pretty good. Alrighty guys, I cleaned out the tank, took off the petcock off, blew everything out. There was some moisture coming out of it. So that petcock has been replaced, so it's nice and clean. Also, we are going to leave the cap off and let it air out, get any moisture out. So it's gonna just air out, let it sit like that for a few days while I go ahead and start buttoning everything else up. And we'll be back with the carburetor and clean this thing out, and we should be good to go. To pop off this cap, you just gotta pull this spring, and then there's this keeper inside there, and you should usually just shake it out. It's a little metal ring, retaining link ring. Just like that. That's what we're looking for. And once that pops out, you should be able to slide and this is the carburetor, and then the spring and the gasket. Make sure you don't lose any of these. Set that aside, the keeper. And now you gotta unscrew the 2 Phillips screws inside there, and you should have access to this needle and see what's up there. Alrighty, and the same way to install it. Just reverse. I'm gonna hold my finger underneath it so that way it doesn't drop down. So that way the washers and everything stay. Just like that. So that open hole right there, you see? You wanna be able to see it through this hole. Just like that. Basically, you don't wanna block it off. Alrighty, now get your screws. Put them back in there, and we are ready to go. This carb should be top notch. Guys, so one way to put this back on to the float thing, the slide, to hold back the spring, just some needle nose pliers, and just hold it like that and slide it right in, and then find your guide. Whoops. Hold it at an angle so the way it doesn't slide off. And hopefully you can get this all in at the first try. Alrighty guys, and just like that, this thing is put back all together. So this carburetor can go right back on, but we gotta rewire this wire and send it back underneath, and we should be good to go. Whipped up some wheel spacers. These are 2 inches long. Just the extension part and then the thread. So they'll just thread on like this. So we got 16 of those, and we'll slap them on, get them all tightened down. And then we'll be ready to drop this thing back on the wheels. And we should be good to go. Hey guys, as you can tell, all the spacers have been put on, all tightened down, ready to go for the tires. Also, we got this problem right here. The adjustment screw that was on there was this piece right here, and it was all broken. So there was no adjustment there. This thread pitch is 8 by 1.25. So one thing you can do for a quick fix is grab yourself a bolt, kind of drill this area out to 8 millimeters, and get you a grinder and slot it out. And this thing spins right in there. It's the same pitch, and we are good to go. Get your little lock nut on there, and we should be good to go. Lock nut will have to be split, so we got to go ahead and do that too. And once we do that, we should be good to go. So here you can see that the wheels are already on. We got them nicely spaced out, all tightened up. We got them all painted. Make sure everything's good, just like that. And same as the front, we actually inverted the wheels in the front here also. So we got it all nice and painted. Everything's all bolted up. You can see we got that bolt back on. We got that all tightened. The clutch is working perfect. That bolt is working perfectly. The throttle cable is all hooked up. Also in the rear, we hooked up the rear brakes, bled the brakes. Everything is perfect. We lubed up the chain. It's kind of tight, I would say. But I think this chain is still going to stretch slightly because it was a little bit rusty. So we locked off all the swing arm tensioning and got the exhaust, everything mounted. Everything's bolted up. Everything's good to go. Gas tanks hooked up. Everything's solid now. All the bolts and everything are hooked up. What else we got going on here? The only thing we got left to do is put some fuel in there and hear this thing rip. So we put a good spark plug in there. Everything's tightened down. Only thing I see that we're missing is this, the lock ring that holds on the carburetor filter boot. And let's check out. I cleaned the air filter. It's a UNI filter. So we cleaned it and oiled it with K&N grease and cleaner oiler stuff kit that I had. So we got that all. We got the carburetor all connected, and it's all good, nice and tight. We are ready to hear this puppy rip. So let's hear this thing, give it a few kicks. Alrighty, so we actually put some fuel in there already. So let's turn this thing on. Let's pull the choke. So one thing we'll have to do, we'll let it run for a little bit with just idling for a little bit. We don't have enough time. It's already too dark outside to let it run, and I don't want to get the neighbors all upset. So we'll do this another day, but we know that it starts, it revs slightly, and everything else is starting to look pretty nice. We have to clean up the plastics. But other than that, this thing is starting to look fire. So let's go. Alrighty guys, hopefully you guys like this little episode. Peace.